Olá! Mercado ético tem uma percepção sobre o mundo que nos cerca muito clara a respeito do consumo. Ele precisa ser bem minimizado. Ou nós não teremos planeta para suportar tudo o que nós estamos consumindo nesse momento, em geral de forma completamente frívola e desnecessária. E o que é pior, desastrosa para o planeta. Vicky Robin, nossa convidada de hoje, é uma inovadora social, uma grande inovadora social, coautora do best-seller internacional Your Money or Your Life, que no Brasil foi lançado pela editora Cultrix com o nome Dinheiro e Vida. Vicky, what a privilege having you here at Mercado Ético. You know that the first time I read your book, by that time it was only in English, and I saw a video of yours at Hazel Henderson's home. I had a real shift in my mind. I arrived back to my home, and the first thing I did was I gave to many people about 75% of my clothes and accessories and this kind of things, you know, because I started watching everything I belong, and I saw that I don't need that. And more than that, I saw that there is a kind of heavy weight on our shoulders when we have to possess so many things. So nowadays, you are here to launch your book, and I would love to know how can we, all of us, our friends, right now watching you, how can we really implement in our lives conscious consumption, your great specialty?
I think that your question that you asked yourself after seeing my video was so important, which is, how much is enough for me to be happy? So we really have to think about our consumption not in terms of status or habit, or because we have the money we can do it, or because we have a credit card we can do it. We have to think about, does it make me happy? And when you take a look, many things that people buy these days actually don't pass the test.
Yes.
It doesn't make them happy.
Yes.
And the other thing I would say is what you did was so important, is that when you realize you have more than enough, the next thing to do is to give it away to people you care about, because that's weaving the web of community, and community is really where our wealth is.
Absolutely.
So much more than in our stuff.
Absolutely. You know that this answer leads us to reflection. You were talking about the meaning of happiness. What's really the thing that makes us happy? And one of those days, I was just remembering with my grown-up sons and daughter that when I came to São Paulo, the town where I live, I didn't have money to do nearly anything. And every time I remember about some of my happiest times, this time will be in. Because it was a whole new world opening, you know, to my eyes, to my dreams and everything. So, on the other hand, whenever I remember what somehow, in different moments in my life, made me really suffer, it was not a new car that I couldn't have, or a new jacket, or whatever it could be. Suffering comes from very, very deep, and from possibly the loss of inner power Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. And what's true for you as an individual, I mean, this story you're telling is very, very common. When you ask people the happiest times in their lives, very often it was right out of college or sometime in their 20s when life was an adventure and when they didn't have a lot, but they were sharing with other people and they were beginning to feel their own power in the world. It's a difficult time. It's a time of struggle. Yes. You know, who am I in the world? What am I about? What am I able to do? But the fact of the matter is, it's those times when we are up against something that's difficult, a challenge, but we manage to make it through. That's really, in terms of the individual, the times people remember that they were happy. And in the United States, they've done studies every year about happiness, and they found out that in 1956, we registered the highest happiness as a nation, and yet since then our happiness has not gone up. As a matter of fact, it's gone a bit down, and our GDP has tripled. Our gross domestic product has tripled. Yeah. So we have 3 times as much and we are no more happy. That is a complete mirror of the life of the individual.
Yes, and still nations insist in considering GDP as the measurement for development, for productivity. When all of us know, and our common friend Hazel Henderson has been saying it for decades, the real assets of a nation should be exactly the same ones as the real assets of a human being. And this means my health, my education, my inner power, my ability to do and to think new. Also, of course, my quality of life. Of course, my power to acquire some things,
right?
Which I define to be important to me. What do you think will happen to politics, for instance, when the planet seems to be absolutely collapsed? Shall we, insist in considering money our real asset?
It's very interesting because if you take a look, if you asked an ordinary individual whether he or she cares about the GDP, the gross domestic product, or the gross national product, they don't really care. We are educated to care about that by the corporations. I mean, who does it serve that we should care about that? It serves the growth economy. Why do we want a growth economy? It's not because individuals want it. We've been educated through advertising to want growth as a measure of progress. Growth of what? Not growth of our spiritual lives. Growth of our gross domestic product. Yeah. It is really, that's the thing. There's such a disconnect between what human beings, real human beings, know is of value and what our dominant story tells us is of value. And I find it's very confusing for many people that they can't seem to match their own personal sense of what's important to them and their social identity as a worker and consumer.
Como vocês estão vendo, a Vicky está de novo falando uma coisa que a gente vem levantando seriamente aqui. É uma sociedade cindida que obviamente gerou seres humanos cindidos. A gente volta já. Mercado Ético hoje conversa com Vicky Robin, essa impressionante inovadora social, cujo livro, inclusive nos Estados Unidos, do qual ela é coautora, o Your Money or Your Life, e que no Brasil agora se chama, então, Dinheiro e Vida, acabou ficando apenas 5 anos na lista dos mais vendidos, dos best-sellers da Business Week. Parece que o assunto realmente é bem palpitante. Vicky, you have been talking somehow about power, about needs, about consumerism. I would add about success. What's for you power? What's for you the meaning of success?
Well, those are two different things. For me, all power arises from my capacity to look within my own self and feel a clear sense of direction and to follow that direction. Ultimately, I mean, because I'm on a spiritual path, power comes through surrender. That's the great irony. Power comes through harmonizing my life with the life that's around me, not in a submissive way, but in a sense that I have the power to change things only if I am attuned to myself and who I really am and what I really have to offer, and I give that fully, with full self-expression, without holding back one iota. So that's power. And success for me is to live my life. Success for me really arises from my good relationships. You know, we go through life and we stumble and we have fallouts with people. But for me, my success, what I feel most proud about, is that all of my relationships are harmonious and in good shape and open and communicative. And that sense of being connected with a large community of people, all with good hearts, well-meaning, trying to make the best of their lives. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, I think we quite share the same opinion. And while you were explaining us your personal feeling about power, with which I entirely agree, I was imagining that maybe there is the reason for the status quo having become such a mess. Why? Because if power comes from within, and I entirely not only agree with that, I feel that.
Right.
The consumerism, the society built upon consumerism probably was and is still about taking power out of people. Because if I feel that to be powerful, I need that car, that clothes, that everything, that jewels, you know, that people around me, not related to me, just around me, you know. If I need, I have all the spotlights. If I need, if I think I need many things that don't come from within. The most I get out of my power. The more I put power in other things,
right,
in external symbols. That's why when you go in this trap, you just can't go ahead, because the more you get, the more you need. Nothing can feed your need for power, because it has left you.
Right. So much interesting what you're saying. One thing I would suggest is that the consumers, well, citizens, people, are exposed in the United States to 3,000 advertisements a day. There is a basic story to an ad. The story is, you are not enough. You are not pretty enough, smart enough, tall enough, short enough, thin enough, fat enough.
You're not enough.
You're just not enough. However, with this product, you will be enough. That is the total story. So what advertising sells, what the consumer culture has to sell, is that you do not have enough.
Yes, and more than that, is that what you are is really not important for society.
Absolutely. You have to feel shame in order for the consumer culture to have something to offer you.
Yes.
And that actually just keeps the corporate culture going. So once you wake up from that and you realize that you've bought a story that isn't exactly true, then you have to recognize that we're all animals. We all have to consume. It's not bad. You know, that is what life is about, is you have to consume, but the question is, what consumption really serves me and what consumption is excess? It's not to induce another form of shame, which is, oh, I'm such a consumer, I shouldn't do it. No. Of course, you know, you need to eat, you need to live someplace, you need, and of course,
to dress, you need
and as animals, you know, in the primate world, status is a very important thing, because if you're a higher status, then you will get more food and you'll get the good-looking chimpanzees. So basically, these things like status and is built into us as animals, who are born and die. So we have to have tremendous compassion for ourselves, and at the same time take back our power to define what products, what foods, what places to live, what shoes, what cars, what of all of those things that we may need to have to live a decent life.
Absolutely.
We are going to select, and it is the process of selection, of choice, where we express our values.
Yes. You know that I have spent and am spending my professional time on the communications area. And among my businesses, I own an advertising agency. So I have nothing against consumption. But what we do is how to really build strong brands through conscious services to consumers, through showing that I, the producer, can make lots of money, and more money than the neighbor production company, neighbor industry, if I help you.
Right.
If I help you, I support your consciousness instead of manipulating you. Já já a gente volta com esta brilhante Vicky Robin. Já temos aí prontinho para adquirir o livro da Vicky Robin. Esse mesmo que ficou, como eu disse, 5 anos na lista dos best-sellers da Newsweek. Agora, o que acontece é o seguinte, a gente vê e ouve a Vicky falar com a gente e fica pensando, meu Deus do céu, como é que eu posso começar realmente para valer a me transformar num consumidor consciente? How can we help people to really start now?
Conscious consumption is buying from your neighbors. That the less far something travels to get to your plate or to your closet, the more you're going to feel connected with the producer. You're going to be supporting your neighbors in being financially successful because you're going to buy their products, not buying products from across the ocean that actually part of the cost is the transportation cost. So things will be, you'll be supporting your local community. So buying things that are made locally is really important. Buying things used. You know, we have probably enough clothes in this world to clothe the whole next generation before they rot. You know, we really don't need, it's a question of novelty that we need something new. It's not a question of actually that our clothes have worn out and we need something new. So if you want some novelty, you can buy something that's used. Or another principle is sharing. You know, the whole consumer culture is driven by everybody has to have a full set of all the products that can give them status. So it is designed so that individuals do not share with one another.
Yes.
You know, so that's one of the drivers of it. So as soon as we start sharing anything with other people, we are going against that trend. So you can share tools. You can share. I have exchanges of clothes with my girlfriends. You know, I mean, we just get together and everybody brings what they don't
now
enjoy.
It's becoming a global fashion to do it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yes,
so I mean,
anything,
any time that you are sharing a resource with somebody else, you're having the cost to yourself, and you're doubling the life of the resource.
Yes.
So it's actually financially good for you, and it's also good for the environment.
Aí você poderia me perguntar assim, bom, mas então vocês estão falando alguma coisa contra a indústria, porque se a gente começar a consumir menos, a reciclar mais, a compartilhar, como sabiamente a Vicky nos recomenda, quer dizer, como, sabe, quer dizer, os primeiros passos para um consumo consciente, então nós vamos diminuir a produção, verdade? Não, gente, mentira. Nós precisamos descobrir o que é de fato produtividade. Nós temos que acabar com esse modelo mental de que a única coisa produtiva que uma indústria pode fazer é arrancar da terra, enfiar goela abaixo para mim, como se isso fosse a única coisa que pudesse me trazer felicidade e poder, ou sucesso, e em seguida me criar uma nova insatisfação para que a gente possa continuar esgotando e eu me sentindo de novo pouco poderosa só porque eu não tenho mais aquela coisinha. O que ela está propondo é um negócio muito fácil de fazer desde que a gente faça a chamada mudança no modelo mental. O que ela está dizendo é aquilo que, por exemplo, a doutora Zuboff e o James Maximin já vinham propondo num livro que eu recomendei poucas semanas atrás, que é um livro de Harvard, que é o in the United States it's called the support economy. Quer dizer, o tipo de produto que eu vou consumir é que vai mudar. Eu, por exemplo, eu quero consumir cada vez mais conhecimento, eu quero consumir o prazer de poder usufruir da natureza, eu quero consumir aquilo que me deixa mais conectada com a situação universal que nós estamos vivendo. Agora, precisa produzir muita coisa para que a gente possa consumir tudo isso. Só que para consumir essas coisas, nós não vamos esgotar o planeta. Então tem muito dinheiro aí para se fazer e para se compartilhar e para girar a economia, que não significa essa bobagem de que eu só sou alguém se eu tiver isto e mais aquilo. Vicky, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I would stay all night long, you know, just sharing ideas with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was really fun.
E a gente volta a semana que vem com o mercado ético e toda esta revolução, ou se você preferir, evolução na nossa maneira de viver e de pensar. Até lá!